step up.
So I think Vern told me, or somebody told me, or wait, no, might have been you, Jason. I don't know. But all of the people that are under sponsors, they've given me like 5, maybe less. So not a lot, but I still want to like put them on there because 1, people know them, and 2, it fills up the sheet a little bit more. So I put them on there.
Yep.
But I only put like my big numbers up, which I should probably move this 10 and 12 down here.
Mhm.
So
Yep,
yeah.
for sure. So really good for social proof because, basically everyone that, Sam is going to be showing to knows these people, right? So they're normal people that have given recommendations. And what do we know about social proof? Somebody else is doing it. And if a group of people are doing it, we're a lot more likely to do it ourselves, right? Because, everyone else is doing it. I might as well too, right? So that's the power intro, Reco heads up, and the slideshow. The next thing is, when you get to, I'm just going to kind of walk through the process of the demo and how recommendations work. So that's how it starts. And then the next thing is, are you seed planting? Now, seed planting throughout the demo is really simple. So, when you're building rapport, asking questions like, how long have you been in the area? Or if they've been in their place for the last 20 years, right? You're just naturally building rapport, but also getting more, getting more people for them to recommend when you actually ask, right? So throughout the presentation, when you're building rapport, you're asking, where they're from, how long they've been there, who do they know who loves to cook or entertain? If they're like, oh no, we don't really have people over. It's like, okay, who do you know who loves to cook or entertain, right? And then, so you're planting seeds for people that they can recommend before you even ask, right? So when you're doing that throughout the presentation, what happens is when you ask at the end, they already have some people in mind. Why? Because you reminded them, right? So that's really important. So just please planting seeds, just really natural. Don't force it, right? But if they're like, oh, we probably wouldn't use that when it comes to anything that you're showing throughout the presentation, like, who do you know who loves to, right? Or we just kind of have to cook. Like, okay, who do you know? Anybody around you that that loves to cook, right? Like, oh, my mom loves to cook, or the neighbors love to cook, whatever it is, just naturally. And you should be writing these questions down so that you can just naturally implement them into your presentation. The next thing is, do you guys all agree recommendations are the most important part of your presentation? Yeah? Like, you literally don't have a job unless you get recommendations, right? Really important. Okay, so if you've been on this job for weeks now, right? Some of you over a month, why is the recommendation approach not memorized? Like, I was just watching a video. It's like the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Like, that it's less than that. It's literally 8 lines. So, I mean, if you're not getting the results that you want, why don't you have it memorized yet? Or is it just like you're just looking to complain about stuff, right? So are you willing to step up and memorize it and implement the things you're learning? Or are you just going to keep doing the exact same things and getting the same results? And that's a pretty crippling feeling. I think we all want to be growing and learning, right? So there's the seed planting. And then, just memorize it. Just seriously, just write this down. Like, we're working on a checklist, memorize it. After this call, you can spend 20 minutes and read it over and over and over, and you'll have it memorized. Okay? So let's put these things into action right away. Okay? The next thing is, are you having fun on your demo? Asking for recommendations is like asking for the report card, right? So it's like, was my demo fun enough? Were you comfortable enough? Did you enjoy yourself enough to introduce me to some people? So what happens when people don't want to give you recommendations? We'll talk about that in a little bit. But most of the time, it's because they don't want to put somebody else through what they just went through, which is a pretty tough reality to accept, right? But it's the truth. So if you're having fun, you're building a relationship, they're really comfortable, they love Cutco, which everyone does. You got that portion on your side. They're going to give you recommendations, right? So are you having fun on the presentation? If you're not, your job, like you probably don't like this job if you're not having fun on the demos. Because if you're not having fun on the demos, no part of the job is fun, right? That's the part of the job that's supposed to be fun. So having fun on the demo. If you need some tips about building rapport, or that's something that you struggle with, I mean, that's what your managers are here for, to help you just get comfortable, because those are real world situations. You're going to have to be able to do that for the rest of your life, right? Pretty important skill to have. So if that's something that you struggle with, just talk to your manager about it. The last thing is pulling up and screen sharing helpmehitmygoal.com. Okay. And I'll talk about why this is so important in a little bit here, why it's so important to screen share it. Essentially, just to let you in on what I'm going to talk about in a little bit, is like, why do customers like, oh, we'll do it later, or yeah, whatever. Like, why do they say those things ultimately? Because they're lazy and they don't want to, right? It's like, it's not that they don't like you or they don't want to give you recommendations. Literally every single time it's like, oh, we just did this presentation with you, like, isn't that enough? Like, but they just don't understand, because they think it's going to be like this long thing, right? But when you're in control, what we know is they can spam off 15 recommendations. We can get this thing done in 5 minutes, right? So I'll go into a little bit more depth about that. And so I'm going to move into handling objections and things like that here in a little bit. But I want you to, I'm going to read it, and I want you to think about how you read it. So how are you saying the recommendation approach? First off, when, and then how are you saying it? So when, after we place the order, right? And it needs to flow right through there. So like, hey, yeah. So you can even say things like, I always loved when I was at people's houses, like I was about to write up the order, I'm like, hey, there's one more very important part after this, right? So like the husband didn't like walk off. So I'm like, I'm gonna get this order in real quick. And you can even do it simultaneously if you have that relationship with them. But you want it to be urgent. You don't want it to be like two separate portions of your demo. It's a part of your demo. Recommendations is. So how are you saying it? And I need you to get rid of the weak language. So could you maybe kinda, or so what I'd like you to do, right? Instead of what I need you to do, right? Anyone else like have that passive language? I think Katie's on a demo, but this is literally at Katie. You can't have that passive language, because people are going to feel like they can just roll over you and push you out of the way and just like, nope, we'll do it later. Sorry, jump off the call, right? And they can't do that, because you're in control and you are a knife professional. So how are you asking? And so there's a few reasons why people don't give recommendations, and it's because you have that the weak language, right? And they feel like, we don't really want to do this, so we're just going to tell you that we're going to give them to you later. Anybody else? People tell you that? Yep. It's because they just think you're a punk kid that they can tell what to do, and they're not going to do it, right? But if you ask with confidence and you don't have that weak language, and you express that it's really important for you and it's what I need you to do, right? It's going to be a completely different story. And then the second thing is going slow, because a lot of times, just like when people don't order, right? It's because they don't have all the information. So in reality, do you really think that anybody's actually uncomfortable giving you somebody's number, like for the knife kid? Like in reality, like with the respect that you treated them with, do you think anyone's actually uncomfortable with that? No, that's BS, right? They're just lazy and they don't want to do it, or you didn't give them enough information. So what that means is you need to talk about, which is why the power intro is so powerful. You need to preface things for them. They need to have an understanding. And a lot of you're not even through like second generation recommendations, right? So a lot of you are asking for recommendations from people that weren't actually recommended, right? You actually personally know them. So when you get into these second, third generation recommendations, they're like, oh yeah, you need names, right? It's like you need to get off the ground go through everybody on your names. Let's do a demo with them and then get their PRs. And then once you hit that level, PRs are so easy. Why, guys? Because they already got recommendations. They know how the process works. They got a text. They got a call from the knife kid. The knife kid was super nice. They agreed to do a demo. They love the demo. They love Cutco. And then you ask for recommendations again. And it's just boom, 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 boom. Okay? But right now, if you're struggling, not getting the results you want, you're probably not implementing the things you're being taught. Or it's just that, the people you're asking recommendations from weren't recommended to the position, right? So for those second gen, just know, like, it actually does get easier. This is like one of the things with a job that actually gets easier over time, right? Just, not only with more experience and confidence, but with the way it's set up, with people actually getting recommended, recommendations get easier. So that's everything that I wanted to go over there. Now I want to go over handling objections and why people don't give you recommendations. So there's a few situations and that I want to go through, and I want to talk about how you can handle them, right? So the first situation that you're going to have is the awesome one, right? So there's times where people just flat out, right, give you 20, whatever it is, and that's awesome, right? But those are like 1 in 100, okay? Where they just, no objections, nothing, boom, they just give you 20, right? There's a few other situations, and this is where every time you get 10 to 15 recommendations, this happens. Does anyone have where a customer gives you like 3 to 4? Anybody ever get that? Like, or they like give you like 2 to 3, right? Okay, awesome. Here's where you say, and this is another thing that you need to do every single time you get recommendations. You need to ask again. Whether they shoot it down at first or they give you 2 to 3, you need to ask again. Do you really think, even if someone gives you like 20 recommendations, do you really think they don't know more people than that? What? No. Think of your parents, right? Like, think about, like, if somebody asked your parents for recommendations, how many recommendations your parents could give if they really wanted to, right? How many people are in your family? Like, think about how many people you brainstormed on your initial names list, right? So everyone has the potential to do that, which is why I've had situations where I've gotten 80 or so, because I've really expressed how important this is to me. And I just kept asking. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Do you think you could break my record, right? So that's why having that slideshow is super important. So whenever you get 2 to 3, you need to keep brainstorming and you need to ask again. But first you need to say thank you so much, right? So every time you're expressing gratitude, and that was a nugget for a couple of you. I saw a lot of people write that down. Express gratitude first, right? So you're not just asking and asking and asking. It's like, thank you so much for those few. Really means a lot. Is there any way we could get to 10? Like, is there any way? Like, I know you know some more people. Come on, guys, right? And if they're like, oh, it's like, okay, well, how about 5, right? And then you get them to 5, and you're like, okay, so who else do you know? Like, who do you know who could buy everything in the blue book if they wanted to? Or who do you know who loves to cook? Or who's the super, like, what about your super nice neighbors that always wave to you? Like, I'd love to meet them. Or I'd love to meet your brothers and sisters. Who is a groomsman, or who is a bridesmaid in your weddings, right? Who stood up your weddings? And then, so you just keep asking those questions. And then, when they think specifically about certain people, right? They think about the bridesmaids in their wedding, and they're like, oh yeah, we could do Susie and Lexi and Sarah, and right? Like, we could give you those people, right? I mean, what's the worst thing that's going to say, right? Or what they're going to say. So that's important. Always asking for more. And then a few objection handling things that I want to go through with you is, so thank you so much for your help. You read through it right. I really appreciate it. And the most important part is when you get to there, you need to gauge and you need to listen. So when you say, thank you so much, I really appreciate it, then you screen share it, right? So I have this right here. You put in your email. You're like, awesome. Who can we start with? Okay. So this isn't like, hey, could you give me some recommendations? And then you wait for them to respond. It's like you have it up. You have helpmehitmygoal.com. You're face-to-face with them while you're asking. It's like, thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it. You hit the screen share button. Here it is. I'm going to put my email in real quick. Who can we start with? Do you guys think that transition is a little bit different than the one that's in your demo? Yeah. So why are you getting people to say like, oh, we don't really want to do that or whatever? Well, it's because they're lazy and they don't want to do it. And you're giving them an opportunity to say no. It's not that they don't want to or that they don't feel comfortable with it. It's you're actually like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And then you're probably like, what are they about to say? Like, tell me no, Mrs. Jones, please. Right? Like, why would you do that? Okay. So pull it up, be assertive. And I want to go through, how I go through recommendations with you, and you'll just see like it's a lot different. Right. And I talk super slow. I talk really, excited. It's the same way I am on my demo. So it's like, awesome. So you finish up the order. So Jason, could you be my customer, please?
You know it.
Okay. So Jason, how'd you like my demo?
It was great.
It's good. Any pointers for me?
No, I don't think so. No, it was
Okay.
great. It was great.
Cool. Awesome. So great. Go ahead and pull out your cell phone.
Okay.
Because there's one more very important part. And here's where you can really help me out. So I get paid every time I show Cutco, but I can only show it to people that I've been personally recommended to, right? I can't like walk around with a bag of knives and go door knocking.
Okay.
So what I need you to do while I'm finished up your order, is jot down like 100 to 150. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
Like 10 to 15 people that you think would be nice enough to take a look. Again, I'm not necessarily looking for people who you think would buy, right? Just nice people like you willing to take a look. I actually have this. I'll pull this up right here. I really, really appreciate this. Thank you so much. This really helps me out. Boom. I screen share. I put my email in. Like, who could we start with first? So once you get to that portion, then you can talk about the sponsorships. You can talk about the heads up text. But once you get a couple, then you're allowed to brainstorm more. And then if they express any level of discomfort, it's all about your level of confidence. Okay. So when you're handling objections, how confident are you? It's like, oh, we don't really feel comfortable with that. It's like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. This is what I say every time. Like, I'm sorry. I must not have clarified. It's actually just going to be me that's calling. And like I said in the beginning of the presentation, I have this text that we actually send out to them so they can let you know if they don't want to see my presentation, and I won't give them a call. So here, I'll send you this text really quick. Boom, I send it to them. And you notice how it's like, I'll send you this text really quick. And it's like, I'm telling them like what I'm doing and what they're going to be doing, right? It's not like, oh, well, like, can I send you this text really quick and you can check it out and see if you'd want to send it out? It's like, no, I'm going to send you this out really quick. And this is what we'll use to send to them. You'll see it. It's really cool. I call myself sweet. If you don't want to add that into the text, that's okay. So I send that to them, right? I'm like, okay, so this is actually what we send out to them, right? Like, so basically all you can do is just copy and paste that to them really quick. It really helps me out. I really appreciate it. And, so they can say no. For most people, it's just a heads up, so they won't even really answer. They'll just be like, okay, cool. Some kid's calling me. But, for those people who already have seen a Cutco demo or whatever, they can respond and say, oh, no, thanks. We'll pass. And then you can let me know, and I'll take them off my list. I won't call. So this is really, really important to me. So who do you think we could get started with? Okay. So they don't even have an opportunity to like talk or express their concern, because I am handling that objection. I'm handling it confidently, and I'm asking again, who can we add? Right. So it's all about talking about the process. If they're unsure, it has nothing to do with where they sit morally with giving out their friends' numbers or they can't do it for work, right? We've gotten that one. That's an excuse. So like it's all about where they sit and your ability to read people and figure out what the real objection is. Is the real objection that you just don't want to make your friends sit through this presentation because mine's boring? Like that could be it, and you got to find it. Okay. So again, a few every time, no matter what, is crucial because it adds up. Okay. And getting those first 2 to 3, you're like, every time you get 10 to 15, you don't get 10 to 15 right away. You get 10 to 15 from continually asking. So if you take nothing from this, it's thank you so much. Is there any way we could get to blank, right? You can explain the sponsorship program, but the most important part is actually expressing how the whole process works. So they see this, hey, you send them this text. If they say no, I take them off my list. When I call them, I'm like, hey, how's it going? I'm Lake. I'm so-and-so's friend. Did they mention I might be giving you a call, right? You can even go into that and like explain it to them, right? Because if they're not comfortable with it, they just don't really know what you're going to do with their friend's number, right? So it's like, yeah, all I'm going to do is call them. If they say no, it's not the end of the world, right? I understand that I'm asking to do a knife presentation with them. Worst thing they can say is no. The best thing is I meet them, they love it, and you guys can talk about your Cutco together, right? Okay, so when it comes to handling objections, it's not a choice. I really want you, we need you to be more confident with this. There's like one thing, like you really need to be confident with handling objections on recommendations. You need to be confident with the script. You need to have it memorized. You need to implement the checklist that we went through. And I promise you that if you do all the things from the checklist and you're asking confidently and you understand how to handle those objections and why those objections come up, I promise you, you are going to get 5 every time, 15 most of the time. Okay? And it's really about asking. And it's about reading the manual. I don't know if all of you are reading the manual. Like if you're struggling with recommendations and you're not reading the manual, like read the manual. It's there for you. It works. Okay? So just read the manual, read it confidently, like have the objections down, understand it, talk slow, handle the objections, and you're going to get recommendations every time. It's not rocket science. It's not like if, it's like how many, right? When you're asking for recommendations, it's not if, like, oh, I wonder if they're going to give me any. It's like, how many recommendations are they going to give me? Because this isn't an option. This is my job. And I'm responsible for my job and my business. And if I'm not responsible enough to step up to the plate and ask for recommendations the right way, my business is going to decline, right? And that's all there is to it. So that's all I have for you. I hope that helped. And we can definitely open it up to some questions if Jason would like.
Yeah, all right. That was awesome. Let's take a look through your notes here. Take 30 seconds to recap your notes. What were your big takeaways? Post in the chat. Big takeaways. And then if you have any questions, prepare to ask them here. Yep. Recommendations are huge. Yes. Express gratitude, Sammy. Right? So thank you. So some of you were asking for more, but you weren't saying thank you first. Taking control, being confident. Yep. Confidence, right? Expectation. Okay. No weak language, Katie. Yes. Cami, confidence. Expressing how important it is to you, Langston. Expressing gratitude, creating expectancy. Yep. Thank you so much for those fews. I know you can think of 10 more, 2 more. That's great, Carmen. Yeah. Awesome. So does anyone have any other questions for Lake on recommendations or anything else you're struggling with in recommendations that he didn't already cover?
I have a question.
Yo.
Okay. what if it's like an 8 p.m. demo and, you know, they're getting tired and, you know, their baby's
Gotta
crying
put
in
the
back.
kids to bed. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So then how do I keep them on? Because they're like, you know, they're standing at their computer through the demo and they're like, we got to put the kids to bed. Like, we'll just text you them tonight or tomorrow.
For sure. So this is how you handle it. So you're like, hey, I totally get it. I actually don't get it because I'm not a dad. However, I don't want, like, I understand how busy you guys are, and I don't want to bug you, like, about this moving forward, right? Like, the Knife Kids recommendations are not going to be important to you, like, tomorrow, right? Because the kids are going to still be there. I have it up right here. Like, this can literally take us 3 minutes. Like, who can we start with? And if they have their phone up and you have the list up in front of them, like, hey, who can we start with? This can literally take 2 minutes if we get on it right now. And it means the world to me. Like, I literally won't have a job if I don't get recommendations. So is there any way that we could spend like 2 or 3 minutes on this? Like, as many as you can. Like, who can we get started with right now? Right?
I promise you I'll text them to you. Like, I promise you I'll text you them.
Okay. Sammy, are you
It's
really?
just I've gotten that before.
Are you really? No, this is how I'm responding. Are you really going to text me though?
Yes. I will do it tonight when I'm laying in bed after the kids are sleeping.
Okay. And if you don't, what's going to happen?
Then you can just call me.
Okay.
And remind me. But I'm not going to forget.
We can either do this now for the next 2 to 3 minutes and get it out of the way, or you can totally do it tonight. I'll let you do it, but I don't want to bug you anymore. And, you know, I think it would just be a lot easier if we just did it now. Is that okay?
I really have to put my kids down.
By the time you we would have been already done. So can we spend the next 2 to 3 minutes doing this, please, real quick?
Okay, fine.
Cool.
Let's go.
All right. Awesome. Right? It's so easy. You always relate to them. It's real simple. It's like, hey, I don't want to bug you in the future. It's going to take longer that way. I have it up right here. You have your phone in your hand. Like, who can we start with? It's going to take you 2 minutes. And that's where you get someone where you get 0 every time. At least you get 4 out of them, right? Like, okay, Susie, blah, 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 blah. All right, we actually have to. Okay, cool. I'm sending you this heads up text. All you got to do is send it out to those people. Thank you so much. If you want to give me more, I would love that, but I respect your time. Have a great night. Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. Just express a lot of gratitude at the end.
Thank you.
Yep. And it's just like Promise Homemaker. I'd rather you sell a trimmer.
Yep.
And that's what Jason just posted in the chat too.
Yep. They're lies, as CJ says. They're lies. They will not do it.
They're lying.
We know, Mrs. Jones, you're not going to do it. But yeah, so awesome stuff. Cool. Fake news. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. So
I have a quick question here. So
yeah.
I've had some demos where they're like, so because they're very busy and I only have like an hour, so I have to try to fit this all into like 1 hour, and then it's getting to the very end. It's like, oh, I have to go to work, and I'm trying my best to at least like get a call time. Like, is that like plausible just to try to like schedule a call time with them, like to get it as tentative as possible? Like, oh hey, let's call now for or like call later for recommendations, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, what I would say is just asking good questions, making sure that they have an hour and 15 in their time slot. And then also, if you know you're going to be, so that's one thing that Katie and I were just chatting about too, is getting a good understanding of what their time frame looks like before the demo gets started while you're building rapport. So you're not building rapport for 40 minutes and then you're like, oh, snap. They're like, oh, we got to go to work in 20 minutes, right? And it's like, oh, well, we were having fun. It was super chatty. You're loving the demo, but we just don't, like, now I can't even talk about Cutco, right? So I just had a 40-minute conversation with, so you just need to be able to gauge it. And, you know, if you do need to cut off the rapport a little bit early, that's fine, right? Just, you know, establish good 5 to 10 minutes of rapport, nothing longer, 13-minute video. And you can, I mean, if you need to pick up the pace, there's certain aspects where you can pick up the pace, like the summary. right? And if you look at it in its aspects, what's like the bulk of the time of your demo, right? Right, you got to think about like where the bulk of your time is in your demo and what's the most important for building values. Like, obviously price comparison and the close are really important. So maybe that summary, you just breeze through that really quick, right? You can definitely save yourself a lot of time during names and uses with still providing a lot of value and a story, right? So you're never rushing through it, but if you need to give yourself time. And if it is a situation like that where that you got to run, you can ask and you can do it while you're writing up the order.
Okay.
So it's like it never that time would have, if they're like, okay, yep, awesome, we got to go here in 10 minutes. But we'll go ahead and get the galley set, whatever it is. Okay, cool. While I write that up, there's one more very important part that we can kind of fit in here simultaneously. Here's where you can really help me out. Boom, you ask, you pull it up right away. And then you have, you either use your phone or your other tablet, whatever you want to do to write up the order. But you're like, okay, so hey, what's your billing info? Awesome. And then they're going to be just spitting names at you while you're writing up the order. That's how I would handle that situation.